The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was quiet. Too quiet for a Tuesday morning. Ambassador Day-Ho stood at the human podium, his dark suit neat and pressed. His face showed nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just calm. Around him, hundreds of alien delegates filled their seats. The Altarians sparkled like living crystals. The Zephyrians clicked their insect-like claws on their desks. The cetaceans floated in their water tanks, their whale-song voices ready to translate into words. Chairman. Velthar's crystal body glowed blue as he spoke. The Council recognizes Ambassador Day-Ho of Earth. You may speak. Day-Ho stepped forward. The other delegates expected another long speech. Humans always gave long speeches. They talked about fairness and helping others. They questioned rules. They made things complicated. But today was different. Thank you, Chairman. Day-Ho's voice was steady. I bring a message from Earth and all human colonies. We are leaving the Galactic Council. This is our final session. Good day. He turned and walked away. The hall erupted. Delegates shouted in a dozen languages. Some laughed. Others looked confused. Chairman Velthar's crystal body flashed bright red, the Altarian sign for shock. Ambassador Day-Ho, Velthar called. You cannot simply leave. There are procedures. Forms to fill. Exit interviews. Day-Ho stopped at the door. He looked back once. We filled out all the forms yesterday. They are on your desk. Thank you for your time. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. In the hallway, So-Young waited. For him. She was young for a diplomat, but her eyes looked tired. She had spent 3 years trying to make the Council listen to human ideas. 3 years of being told to wait, to follow procedures, to stop making trouble. How did they take it? She asked. About as well as we expected, Day-Ho said. They walked toward the docking bay where their ship waited. Behind them, chaos grew. In the council hall, Krixtal, the Zephyrian military leader, was trying to speak. Her insect voice clicked rapidly. This is impossible. Humans cannot just leave. They have duties, contracts. Good riddance, said Counselor Nixval from the Meridian Consortium. His blue skin rippled with satisfaction. Humans cause nothing but problems, always asking questions. Always changing things. We will be better without them. Many delegates agreed. Humans were troublemakers. They never followed rules properly. They made friends with species that were not even in the council. They helped refugees without proper paperwork. They gave aid to planets that had not asked. For it officially, Chairman Velthar tried to restore order. Please, everyone calm down. This is just a negotiation tactic. Humans always do this. They will be back in a few days, asking for better terms. But deep down, something worried him. Day-Ho had not looked angry. Angry humans shouted and demanded things. They made dramatic speeches about justice. This human had looked done, finished, like someone who had already moved on. At the human embassy, workers moved with quick efficiency. Boxes filled with papers and equipment. Data drives were wiped clean. Important files disappeared into encrypted storage that only humans could open. Dr. Hyojin packed her research on plant diseases. For 10 years, she had helped colonies fix their farming problems. The council had a department for that, but they moved slowly. Hyojin fixed things fast, often without waiting for official permission. Are you sure about this? Asked Tolmar, an Altarian scientist who had worked with her. Your plant research saves lives. Hyojin smiled sadly. The council never wanted our research officially. They said our methods were too irregular, too risky. Maybe now they will develop their own solutions. In the military section, Captain Boram supervised the removal of human peacekeeping equipment. Her soldiers worked without talking. They had served alongside aliens for years, keeping peace in dangerous places. But the Council always criticized their methods. Too flexible, they said, too willing to bend rules. "Where will you go?" asked Commander Yixtor, a cetacean officer. "Somewhere we can help people without asking permission first," Boram said. The evacuation took exactly 72 hours. Every human facility in Council space was emptied. Every database was locked or destroyed. Every piece of human technology was removed or disabled. Admiral Myung-soo commanded the evacuation fleet from his flagship. 300 ships gathered at the edge of Council space. Transports, warships, research vessels, hospital ships, all filled with humans and their belongings. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said his communications officer. Myung-soo looked at the star map one last time. 60 years ago, humans had joined the Galactic Council with hope. They thought they could help build a better galaxy. They brought ideas about cooperation and fairness. They offered their ability to solve problems in new ways. But the Council never really wanted human ideas. They wanted human labor, human soldiers to fight their wars, human engineers to fix their problems, human diplomats to handle difficult situations. But when humans suggested changes or improvements, they were told to follow procedures. "Take us out," Myung-soo ordered. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving only empty space behind. Back on Nexus Prime, the Council was still debating. Some members celebrated, others worried, but most believed humans would return within a week. Asking to negotiate, Chairman Velthar finally managed to restore order. "This session is adjourned. We will reconvene tomorrow to discuss this situation calmly." But as delegates filed out, problems were already starting. The refugee camp on Station 7 sent a message. They needed more medical supplies. Dr. Minho usually handled such requests, but Dr. Minho was gone. The official procurement process would take 6 weeks. The trade dispute between Altair and Zephyr needed mediation. Ambassador Jin Woo always solved these problems with his informal coffee meetings, but Jin Woo was gone. The formal mediation process would take months. New Busan colony reported crop problems. Dr. Hae-jin always had solutions ready. But Dr. Hae-jin was gone. The agricultural department would need to study the problem first. Small problems, tiny cracks in the great machine of galactic civilization. But cracks can grow, and the humans were gone. 3 months passed like a slow poison spreading through the galaxy. Chairman Velthar stared at the reports covering his crystal desk. Each one brought worse news. What had started as small problems were becoming big disasters. The Meridian trade route was completely blocked. 2 weeks ago, a simple shipping disagreement had started between the Altarians and the Cetacean Confederacy. Altarian crystal ships wanted to use the shorter path through Cetacean space. The Cetacean said no. Their migration season was starting. Normally, this would have been solved in 3 days. Ambassador Jin Woo would have called both sides for coffee in his small office. He would have listened to their problems while serving terrible human coffee that somehow made everyone more willing to talk. Then he would have found a solution that made both sides happy. But Jin Woo was gone. Instead, the council had to follow proper procedures. Official complaints were filed, committee meetings were scheduled, formal hearings were planned. Everything took time. Lots of time. Meanwhile, 300 cargo ships sat in space, waiting. Food rotted in storage. Medicine expired. 12 different planets ran short of basic supplies. The economic losses grew bigger every day. "This is ridiculous, Counselor," Nixaval complained to Velthar. "How did one human solve these problems so fast?" Velthar did not answer. He was reading another report, this one from New Busan Colony. Their crops were dying from soil sickness. The farming equipment was breaking down. Thousands of people might starve. The report asked for Dr. Hai-Jin, but Dr. Hai-Jin was gone. Velthar called the agricultural department. "What can you do about New Busan?" "We need to study the problem first," came the answer. "Send soil samples. Test the equipment. File proper research proposals. Maybe 6 months to find a solution." 6 months! People will starve in 6 months! "I am sorry, Chairman. But we must follow procedures. We cannot just guess like the humans did." But the humans had not been guessing. Velthar was starting to understand that. He called for the files on Dr. Hai-Jin's work. What he found shocked him. Dr. Hai-Jin had detailed records on over 3,000 worlds. She knew which plants grew in which soil. She knew how to fix farming problems quickly. She had solutions ready for problems that had not even happened yet. But she had never shared this information with the agricultural department. When asked why, her old reports said the same thing. The department said my methods were too irregular. They wanted me to test everything for years before using it. People would die waiting for proper testing. So she had worked alone, fixed problems quietly, saved lives without official permission, and now she was gone, along with all her knowledge. Similar discoveries were happening everywhere. In the research division, Dr. Su-Jin's absence was crippling work on 12 major projects. She had been the link between different alien species. When Altarian crystal-based thinking could not understand, Zephyrian hive mind concepts Su-Jin translated between them. When cetacean long-term planning clashed with Meridian short-term action, Su-Jin found ways to make both work together. Without her, research teams fell apart. Altarians worked only with other Altarians. Zephyrians only trusted other Zephyrians. Great projects slowed to a crawl. The Galactic Peace Corps was having even worse problems. Their latest mission to stop a civil war on Kepler 442b had failed completely. The two sides would not talk to the formal peacekeeping team. "They keep asking for Captain Boram," reported the mission commander. "They say she understood their culture. They trusted her." "Captain Boram broke regulations," replied General Yarth. "She made deals without authorization. She promised things the Council had not approved. But she stopped 3 wars last year. Improperly. We must follow correct procedures. The civil war on Kepler 442b grew worse. Thousands died while the Peace Corps filled out proper forms. Krixtal, the Zephyrian military strategist, was the first to really understand what was happening. Her insect mind was good at seeing patterns. She studied the reports carefully, looking for connections. What she found frightened her. The humans had not just worked in the Council. They had created a whole second system, an invisible network of relationships and solutions that kept the galaxy running. Ambassador Jin Woo had not just mediated trade disputes. He had built friendships with hundreds of traders, merchants, and officials. When problems arose, he knew exactly who to call. His coffee meetings were not just about solving today's problem. They were about preventing tomorrow's problems. Dr. Hai-Jin had not just fixed sick crops. She had created a network of farmers and scientists across the galaxy. They shared information unofficially. They helped each other quickly, without waiting for official approval. Captain Boram had not just stopped wars. She had earned the trust of dozens of different cultures. They would listen to her because they knew she cared about them as people. Not just as names on a report. All the humans had done this. They had built personal relationships. They had shared knowledge informally. They had solved problems by caring about people instead of following rules. And the council had called this irregular. Krixtal brought her findings to Chairman Velthar. "We have made a terrible mistake," she said. Velthar's crystal body flickered with worry. "Explain." The humans were not just council members. They were the glue that held everything together. We thought they were breaking rules, but they were making the rules work. That is impossible. Rules are rules. "Look at the trade routes," Krixtal said, showing her data. "In the past 3 months, disputes have increased by 400%. Resolution time has increased by 800%. Economic losses are beyond calculation." Velthar studied the numbers. They were terrible. "Look at the research projects," Krixtal continued. "Collaboration between species has dropped by 70%. New innovations have stopped completely. Look at peacekeeping missions. Success rate has dropped from 90% to 30%. The data painted a clear picture. Without humans, the council was falling apart. But how is this possible?" Velthar asked. "Humans are just one species among many. Humans think differently," Krixtal explained. "Other species think in straight lines. We see problems and apply rules. Humans see connections. They understand that galaxy is not a machine with parts. It is a living thing with relationships." That evening, Velthar sat alone in his office, surrounded by disaster reports. The Meridian trade route was still blocked. New Busan colony was still starving. The civil war on Kepler 442b was still growing. And somewhere in the galaxy, the humans were gone. For the first time in his long life, Chairman Velthar wondered if the council had made a terrible mistake. Outside his window, the stars looked different, somehow. Less friendly, more cold and distant, like a galaxy without hope. 8 months after the humans left, the galaxy was breaking. Chairman Velthar stood in the emergency session hall, watching his civilization crumble in real time. The great crystal screens showed disaster after disaster, each one worse than the last. The Galactic Refugee Protection Network was collapsing. 3 million refugees sat in overcrowded camps, waiting for help that moved too slowly to save them. Disease was spreading. Children were dying. The processing time is now 14 weeks per refugee, reported Director Yilmar. His voice shook with exhaustion. "We used to process them in 3 days. "What changed?" demanded Counselor Nixaval. "The humans," Yilmar said quietly. "Sujin and Tai Yang. They broke the rules. Every day. They approved applications without proper review. They moved families without official authorization. They gave medical care without insurance verification." "That was illegal," Nixaval shouted. "That was saving lives," Yilmar replied. "Now we follow all procedures correctly, and people die while we fill out forms." The room fell silent. Everyone knew Yilmar was right. On the screen, images showed the camps. Desperate families crowded into spaces meant for half their number. Alien children with empty eyes, waiting for food that came too late. Medical tents overflowing with sick refugees, who could not get proper care because their paperwork was still being processed. "Sujin used to walk through the camps every morning," Yilmar continued. "She knew every family. When someone needed help, she made it happen. She did not ask permission. She just helped." "Where is she now?" asked Krixtal. "Gone," Yilmar said. "Like all of them. Gone." The next report was even worse. The Galactic Science Institute was dying a slow death. research had almost stopped. The great collaborative projects that had driven innovation for centuries were falling apart. Dr. Zexnall, the Institute's director, looked broken. His crystal form had lost its natural glow. "We cannot make anything work anymore," he said. "The species will not talk to each other." "Why not?" Velthar asked, though he feared he knew the answer. "Because we think too differently. Altarians think in crystal patterns. Zephyrians think in hive mind swarms. Cetaceans think in long-term flows. We cannot understand each other." "But you worked together before." "Because of humans like Dr. Minho. He translated not just languages, but thoughts. He could take an Altarian crystal concept and explain it in Zephyrian swarm terms. He could take cetacean long-term planning and break it into meridian short-term actions." Dr. Zexnall showed them a project file. This cancer research involved 12 species. Dr. Minho spent 3 years building bridges between our different ways of thinking. When he left, the project died. Not because we lost his research, but because we lost his ability to help us understand each other. "Can you not learn to do this yourselves?" asked Velthar. "We tried, but humans think differently than everyone else. They see connections where we see differences. They find similarities where we see conflicts. It is like they were born to bring different kinds of minds together." The third disaster was military. The Galactic Peace Corps had failed spectacularly on the rimward frontier. A simple trade dispute had exploded into a 3-way war involving 17 planets. General Yarkth gave his report with military precision, but his voice carried defeat. "The locals will not negotiate with us. They say we do not understand their culture. They ask for the humans." "Which humans?" Velthar asked. "All of them, but especially Captain Boram and Commander Unji. The locals say these humans took time to learn their customs. They say the humans treated them as equals, not as problems to solve." Crixtal had been studying this disaster for weeks. "I interviewed the local leaders," she said. "They told me something interesting. Human peacekeepers did not just stop fights. They prevented fights by building relationships." Explain. "Captain Boram spent 6 months learning the rimward languages, not just words but meanings. She understood their honor codes, their family structures, their religious beliefs. When conflicts arose, she knew how to speak to them in ways that respected their culture." "That sounds inefficient," said Nixval. "But it worked," Crixtal replied. "Human peacekeepers had a 90% success rate. We have a 30% success rate. Which is more efficient?" The fourth report was economic. The galactic economy was in free fall. Trade disputes that used to be solved in days now lasted months. Supply chains were breaking down. Entire sectors were going bankrupt. "The humans had informal relationships with everyone," explained Economic Director Tolvar. "They knew traders personally. They understood market flows intuitively. When problems arose, they could fix them with a few calls to the right people." "We have official channels for all of this," Nixval protested. "Official channels take time. Markets move fast. By the time we finish proper procedures, the damage is done." Tolvar showed them a case study. Last month, a shipping accident blocked the Centauri route. In the old days, Jinwu would have called 5 people and had alternate routes open in 6 hours. We followed proper procedures, and it took 3 weeks. The economic damage was 20 billion credits. "But procedures exist for good reasons," Velthar said weakly. "Human procedures existed for better reasons," Tolvar replied. "They worked. As The reports continued, a pattern became clear. The humans had not just participated in galactic civilization. They had been its invisible foundation. Their unofficial networks, personal relationships, and flexible problem-solving had kept everything running smoothly. Without them, the formal systems were revealed as slow, rigid, and often useless. But the worst news came at the end of the session. "We have a bigger problem," announced Intelligence Director Kixamol. "We found the humans." The room stirred with hope. "They are in the Andromeda approach, beyond our territory. They have established something called the New Terra Federation." "Excellent," said Velthar. "We can negotiate their return." "No," Kixmol said quietly. "We cannot. They are not alone." The main screen showed long-range sensor data. Ships, thousands of ships. But not all of them were human. The humans have allied with 47 non-council species, races we had never contacted, planets we had dismissed as too primitive or too difficult to work with. The images showed bustling space stations, thriving colonies, active trade routes. The New Terra Federation was not just surviving, it was growing. "How is this possible?" Velthar asked. "The same way they held our civilization together," Krixtal said. "They built relationships. They found ways to help different species work together. They did for 47 new species what they had tried to do for us." "But we rejected their methods," Velthar realized, "so they found people who would accept them." The room fell silent as the truth sank in. The humans had not just left the council. They had taken their abilities elsewhere and built something better, something that worked, and the council was falling apart without them. Outside the chamber windows, another refugee transport arrived, overcrowded and desperate. Another trade. Route closed due to unresolved disputes. Another research project failed due to lack of cooperation. The galaxy was learning what it had lost, but it might be too late to get it back. 14 months after the departure, Chairman Velthar made the decision that shamed him. The Galactic Council would beg. Operation Reconnect, they called it. A formal name for a desperate mission. Krixtal would lead a joint task force to find the humans and convince them to return. The mission was not supposed to be secret, but it became one anyway. Too many council members still refused to admit they needed human help. They preferred to believe the problems would solve themselves. Krixtal chose her team carefully. Dr. Zexanal from the Science Institute, who understood how much human collaboration mattered. Director Yilmar from Refugee Services, who had watched children die while paperwork was processed. Captain Mordak from the Peace Corps, who had seen wars start that humans could have prevented. All of them had worked closely with humans. All of them knew what the galaxy had lost. Their ship, the Harmony, was one of the Council's fastest. But even at maximum speed, the journey to the Andromeda approach took 3 weeks. 3 weeks while the Council territory fell further into chaos. During the flight, they studied everything they could find about human activities before the departure. What they discovered was shocking. "Look at this," Dr. Zexanal said, showing data on his crystal display. For the past 10 years, humans had been quietly building relationships with non-council species. Dozens of them. The files showed a pattern. Human diplomats visiting independent worlds, human traders establishing new routes, human scientists sharing research with alien researchers the Council had never contacted. They were preparing, Krixtal realized. This was not a sudden decision. They were building an alternative to the Council for years. "Why?" asked Yilmar. Captain Mordak found part of the answer in old Peace Corps reports. "Look at these requests. Over and over, humans asked permission to help non-council species. Every time the council said no, too risky, too expensive, not our responsibility. So they helped anyway, Crixtal said, unofficially. The evidence was everywhere once they looked for it. Human medical teams treating plagues on worlds the council had quarantined. Human engineers building infrastructure on planets the council had written off as hopeless. Human teachers sharing knowledge with species the council considered too primitive. They were doing what they always did, Dr. Zexanal said, building bridges. But when we would not let them build bridges in council space, they built them elsewhere. Following the trail of human activity was like following breadcrumbs through space. Energy signatures from human ships, trade records from human merchants, grateful messages from species the council had never heard of. The trail led to the edge of known space, where the galaxy grew thin and stars were scattered like distant islands. And there, in a region that council charts marked as empty, they found New Terra. It was beautiful. The main station was huge, bigger than Nexus Prime, but where the council station was all formal lines and separated sections for each species, New Terra flowed like a living thing. Different architectural styles blended together. Alien gardens mixed with human parks. Art from a dozen worlds decorated the walls. Ships came and went constantly. Not just human ships, but vessels from species Crixtal had never seen. Some looked like living creatures. Others were clearly built by machine intelligences. A few defied understanding entirely. "How many species are here?" asked Yilmar. Their ship's computer tried to count. 67 distinct technological signatures. Possibly more. 67? Dr. Zexnal's crystal form flickered with amazement. The council has only 12 species. As they approached, a communication came through. The voice was human, female, speaking perfect council standard. "Council Vessel Harmony, this is New Terra Traffic Control. I am Commander So Young. Please, state your business." So Young. Crixtal remembered her. A young human diplomat who had tried for years to get the council to listen to new ideas. The council had always told her to be patient, to follow procedures, to wait for the proper time. "Commander So Young, this is Crixtal of the Galactic Council. We request permission to meet with human leadership." There was a long pause. Then, "Permission granted. Docking Bay 7, Admiral Myung-Soo will meet with you." Docking Bay 7 was a marvel of cooperative engineering. Human technology blended seamlessly with alien designs Crixtal could not identify. The air mixture was perfect for all of them, automatically adjusted as they moved through different sections. Admiral Myung-Soo waited for them with a small group of humans and aliens. He looked older than Crixtal remembered, but his eyes were calm and confident. "Welcome to New Terra," he said politely. "I must admit, we did not expect to see you." "We need to talk," Crixtal said. "Of course. Please, follow me." The meeting room overlooked the main station plaza. Through the windows, Crixtal could see the impossible. Dozens of different species walking together, working together, living together. Children from different worlds played in the same parks. Scientists from incompatible biologies shared the same laboratories. "How?" was all Crixtal could say. Admiral Myung-Soo smiled. "The same way we tried to do it in the council. We listened, we learned, we adapted. The difference is, here, people wanted to work together." Dr. Zexnal leaned forward. "But these species, we studied some of them. They are too different, too primitive, too aggressive. How do you make it work?" "Too different according to who?" asked Dr. Minho, who had joined the meeting. The Cathari have beautiful mathematical concepts that revolutionized our engineering. The Yoltan understand biology in ways that saved 3 different plague worlds. The machine intelligences of Sector 9 think faster than anyone. But the Council determined they were not ready for galactic civilization, Yilmar protested. The Council determined they did not fit Council rules, Dr. Minho corrected. We determined that Council rules were the problem. Admiral Myung-Soo activated a holographic display. It showed new Terra Federation territory, hundreds of systems, thousands of worlds, trade routes that made the Council's networks look simple. We have 15 times the territory of the Council, 30 times the population. Our economy grows every month. Our research produces breakthrough after breakthrough. And we have not had a single war. How? Crixtal asked again. Because we do what humans have always done, said So Young. We find ways to help different people work together. We solve problems by caring about people, not by following rules. The truth hit Crixtal like a physical blow. The humans had not just left the Council, they had proved the Council wrong. They had taken their methods to willing partners and built something better. We came to ask you to return, Crixtal said quietly. The humans exchanged glances. The Council is falling apart without you, she continued. People are dying. Wars are starting. The economy is collapsing. We need your help. Admiral Myung-Soo was quiet for a long moment. Why should we help the Council? They rejected our methods. They rejected our values. They called us troublemakers and rule breakers. Because... Crixtal struggled for words. Because you are good at helping people. And Council people need help. It was not a good argument. She knew it. But it was true. Dr. Minho looked at his colleagues. We never stopped caring about Council species. We care about all people. But we cannot go back to the old ways. We cannot pretend that rigid rules and formal procedures work when they clearly do not. What would it take? Asked Yilmar desperately. Change, said Admiral Myung-Soo simply. Real change. The Council would have to admit that cooperation is more important than control, that relationships are more important than regulations, that helping people is more important than following procedures. The Council will never agree to that, Crixtal said. Then the Council will continue to fail, So Young replied, and eventually its people will come to us instead. She gestured to the window where more ships were arriving. Ships carrying refugees from Council space, traders seeking better opportunities, scientists looking for places where their ideas would be welcomed. It is already starting, she said gently. People are choosing cooperation over control. Crixtal looked out at the thriving station, the successful cooperation, the peaceful coexistence of species that were supposed to be incompatible. The humans had not just left the Council, they had replaced it, and they had done it better. 2 years after the humans left, the galaxy screamed. The things came from the dark spaces between stars. They had no name because no one had ever seen them before and lived to name them. They ate energy itself. Starships, space stations, planets. Anything that used power became food for the dark entities. They moved like living shadows across the star maps. Where they passed, lights went out forever. Chairman Velthar stood in the Council's Emergency Command Center, watching his civilization die in real time. The great screens showed system after system going dark. Millions of lives snuffed out like candles in a windstorm. Weapons are useless, reported General Yarkth. His voice was hollow with defeat. They feed on the energy from our guns. Every shot makes them stronger. Shields do nothing. added Chief Engineer Koltar. They consume the shield energy and grow larger. How many ships have we lost? Velthar asked, though he dreaded the answer. All of them, Yarth said quietly. Every fleet we sent, gone. The outer territories were already evacuated. Refugee ships fled deeper into Council space, carrying stories of horror. Entire worlds drained of power in minutes. Space stations crumbling as their energy was consumed. Ships dying silent deaths as their engines were eaten from inside. Time until they reached the core worlds? Velthar asked. 6 days, came the answer. 6 days until the heart of galactic civilization was devoured. Krixtal had been working without sleep for 3 days, studying the entities. Her analysis was terrifying in its simplicity. They are attracted to organized energy patterns. The more complex the technology, the more they want to consume it. Our greatest achievements are poison to them. What about evacuation? Suggested Counselor Nixval. To where? Krixtal replied. They are spreading in all directions. Soon there will be nowhere to run. The room fell silent. Everyone understood. The Galactic Council, the greatest civilization in known space, was about to become extinct. There is one option, Velthar said quietly. The humans. The silence deepened. Many council members still resented the idea of asking human help. It felt like admitting complete failure. The humans probably cannot help anyway, said Nixval. These entities will consume their technology too. But Krixtal was studying new data from her sensors. Actually, that is strange. The entities have not moved toward New Terra Federation space. They seem to be avoiding that region. Why? I do not know. Velthar made the hardest decision of his life. Prepare my personal ship. I will go to New Terra myself. Chairman, that is too dangerous, protested General Yarth. Everything is dangerous now. At least this danger has purpose. The journey to New Terra took 18 hours at maximum speed. Behind him, Velthar left a galaxy in panic. Ahead of him lay the last hope for billions of lives. He did not expect to return. New Terra looked the same as before, peaceful, prosperous, alive. It was hard to believe that cosmic horror was consuming the galaxy just a few hundred light years away. Admiral Myung-Soo met him at the docking bay. Chairman Velthar, I am sorry to see you under these circumstances. You know about the entities? We have been tracking them for 5 years, Dr. Minho said, joining them. We tried to warn the Council, but our communications were ignored. Velthar's crystal form flickered with shame. Of course the humans had tried to warn them. Of course the Council had ignored the warnings. Can you help us? Velthar asked. We can help your people, Admiral Myung-Soo corrected. But not your system. They brought him to a research center, where Dr. So Young was working with a team of mixed species. Humans, yes, but also aliens Velthar had never seen before. Their equipment looked different from Council technology. Simpler in some ways, more organic. The entities feed on ordered energy, Dr. So Young explained. They are attracted to the kind of rigid, hierarchical power systems that advanced civilizations use. The more organized and controlled the energy, the more they want it. But your technology uses energy too, Velthar pointed out. Different kind of energy, said Dr. Minho. We learned from our new partners. The Cathari showed us how to make power systems that flow like water instead of marching like soldiers. The Yoltan taught us to blend technology with biology. The machine intelligences helped us create networks that adapt instead of control. Dr. So Young showed him a comparison. Council technology looked like perfect geometric patterns. New Terra technology looked like living things, irregular, flowing, adaptive. The entities cannot digest our technology because it does not fit their feeding patterns, she continued. They need rigid structure to consume. Our technology has no rigid structure. Can you teach us this? Velthar asked desperately. In 5 years, maybe, Dr. Minho said. Your entire technological base would need to be rebuilt from the ground up. We do not have 5 years. We have 5 days. The humans exchanged glances. There is another option, Admiral Myung-Soo said slowly. Evacuation. We can save your people, if not your civilization. What do you mean? Every civilian, every non-military person in council space, we can evacuate them to New Terra territory. Our refugee systems can handle the numbers. That is impossible. Billions of people. We have been preparing for this for 2 years, So Young said. Ever since we confirmed the entities were coming, we built refugee fleets, prepared colony worlds, organized supply chains. She showed him the plans. They were staggering in scope. Thousands of ships, hundreds of worlds prepared for settlement, resource allocation for billions of refugees. Why? Velthar asked. Why would you do this for us? Because that is what humans do, Admiral Myung-Soo said simply. We help people, even people who rejected our help before. But there was a price. The council system would have to be abandoned, Dr. Minho explained. Your government, your laws, your rigid hierarchies, everything the entities want to consume. Your people would be welcome here, but they would have to live by our methods. Cooperation instead of control, So Young added. Relationships instead of regulations. Adaptation instead of rigid rules. Velthar understood. The humans were offering to save his people, but not his power. The Galactic Council would die. In its place would be something new. Something that worked the way humans worked. And if I refuse, then everyone dies, Admiral Myung-Soo said sadly. Including us, eventually. The entities will not stop until they have consumed everything. Outside the research center, Velthar could see New Terra's main plaza. Dozens of species working together. Children from different worlds playing together. Scientists sharing ideas across biological impossibilities. It worked. Whatever the humans had built here, it worked. Back in council space, the entities were 3 days away from the core worlds. Velthar activated his communication system. This is Chairman Velthar to all council worlds. I am authorizing Operation Sanctuary. All civilian populations are to be evacuated immediately to New Terra Federation space. This is not a request. This is survival. The protests came immediately. Council members demanding explanations, military leaders refusing to abandon their posts, politicians clinging to power even as cosmic horror approached. But the civilians understood. When given a choice between death and change, most chose change. Evacuation took 72 hours. It was the largest movement of people in galactic history. New Terra ships arrived in council space like angels of mercy, their organic-looking technology invisible to the approaching entities. Velthar was on the last ship to leave Nexus Prime. As his transport jumped to hyperspace, he watched the Council's greatest space station disappear behind them. Hours later, the entities arrived. Nexus Prime's lights went out forever, but 12 billion Council civilians were safe in New Terra space. The evacuation camps were not like the failed refugee camps of the old council. These worked. Families were kept together. Medical care was immediate. Food was plentiful. Most importantly, hope remained. Dr. Hae-jin was there, helping resettle farmers on new worlds. Captain Boram was organizing security with her old mixture of official authority and personal relationships. Ambassador Jin Woo was mediating disputes between different species with coffee and conversation. All the humans were there, doing what they had always done, helping people. 6 months later, Velthar stood in the New Terra Council chamber. It looked nothing like the old Galactic Council. Instead of rigid rows of separated delegates, there were comfortable circles where species mixed freely. Instead of formal procedures, there were conversations. "We call it the Cooperation Accords," explained Ambassador Dae-ho, now serving as New Terra's chief diplomat. No species rules over others. Everyone contributes what they can. Everyone helps everyone else. It was not perfect. There were still disagreements, still problems to solve, but problems got solved. Quickly, efficiently, with care for the people involved. The entities had consumed most of the galaxy, but life continued in New Terra space, and slowly, carefully, they were expanding again, building new worlds, rescuing survivors, creating something better than what had been lost. Velthar had lost his title, his power, his entire civilization, but for the first time in his long life, he felt hopeful. The humans had been right all along. Cooperation was stronger than control. Relationships were more important than regulations. And sometimes, losing everything was the only way to find something better. In the New Terra archives, a simple plaque marked the end of one age.